Hey, it's Pink Buddha, and today we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can avoid sounding like an amateur producer. In other words, sound more professional when you're using synth plugins. And while this can apply to basically any synth or plugin that you might use, we're going to just focus specifically on 2 plugins that come with the Force and MPC products, which are the Hype and the Tube Synth. But again, this could really apply to anything. So if you're interested in a couple quick ways you can sound more professional, let's jump right in. But don't forget to subscribe to catch more content like this. Okay, so to demonstrate these concepts, I'm going to actually put a piece together for you because I prefer to teach things in the context of actually making music rather than talking about it more abstractly. And we're going to use these 2 plugins on the Force, the Tubesynth and the Hype, and those are the same ones on all the MPC software as well. Okay, so tip number 1 is to basically avoid using the reverb and delay settings that come on most presets when you listen to them. Those are there for kind of demo purposes, but chances are they are not going to fit with your song. And here's why. When you add delay, it's primarily to add some sort of rhythmical element to your song. And chances are that the whatever sound you pull up, the rhythmical element that's on it as a preset is probably not going to fit the context of your song. And reverb is wonderful for creating space in your mix between different sounds. So just using the preset that's there, again, might create too much space or not enough space based upon the needs of your track. So, okay, there's one exception to this, and that's that if you are sort of in the exploratory stage of writing a track or working on something, I oftentimes play on sounds and they inspire songs. And that's actually how I know that I come across a really good synth or plugin or whatever it might be, is how much do the actual presets and sounds inspire me to come up with new musical ideas from the start. So that would be the one exception, is if you're playing around on something and it happens to kind of spur an idea in you and you go with it. But that's really the first one, not subsequent to that. So one of the things I really don't like about these Hype and Tubesynth plugins for the Force or the MPC products is that they always put all this freaking delay on them. And it's oftentimes not what you need. Yeah, they just put delay on all of these ones. It's like, it's freaking all over the place. So my recommendation would be, unless you're again starting out with something, that you just turn those things off and then make sure that you add them back as needed. So I'm just going to search around to find a sound, and we're going to start from there to make a track together. Do you hear all that delay in there? Why did they put all that in there? I kind of like that sound. Let's go with it. So this would be a good example that if I was going to add some delay back into this, that I want to create some more motion to it. So what I'm hearing in my head is I want it to be like, like some sort of rhythmical element that would be helping this along. So I'm going to increase the reverb and the feedback and make it something a little faster, like a triplet for the 8th note. More feedback. More mix. Okay, so just to be clear, don't get me wrong, effects are not bad. Effects are amazing. They are an integral part to creating good professional sounding tracks. My point is that when you go through the presets and someone has like designed this particular sound and put some effects on it, they're just using that from a demonstrational standpoint. They have no idea what kind of song that you're creating and if that sort of effect would fit with it. Maybe I need to have a little bit of a beat in here first. I've loaded up this lo-fi house kit. Let's record a little part here. I'm going to turn fixed length on. It's 4 bars. All right, let's now record this other part here. Okay, that's good. All right, make that 8-bar loop. Okay, so reverb wise, as I mentioned before, maybe that's not where I need it to be. So let's start by turning it off, just to make sure that it's fitting into the mix. Maybe it doesn't even need the reverb. I like a little bit of reverb in there just to kind of set it back a little bit. Okay, so that brings me to the second tip when you're working with presets, is to not just start randomly looking through other sounds to figure out what's going to go next. That'd be kind of like if you were a chef and you wanted to add some other sort of spice or ingredient to your meal, and you just were like, let's look through the fridge and see what we got, or like look through the spice cabinet. I mean, it's a very haphazard way of doing it, that if you're a super professional chef, they might be able to get away with that. But if you're not, your dish is going to end up coming out a little haphazard. So approach it with some sort of like mission and then search around to see what you find. I'm hearing maybe adding some sort of bass sound that's kind of roundish and has got some good attack to it, kind of fit along with this and maybe cut through a little bit more. So now I could start to search around for a bass sound, and I might come across something else that I like, but at least I have sort of a purpose and mission going forward. So I pulled up the Hype plugin and put it in here, and I'm going to look through some of these ones right here. Well, I'm going to go to the sub because I've already said I kind of want something like that. So let's see what we got. That's a little bit too harsh. So didn't I say I wanted something kind of round and had some good attack to it? That sounds pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and play around with this. That one doesn't cut through enough for my taste. It's a little too sub-ish. It's not very round, but I'm going to try with this because the rounder one I found didn't really work in the mix. So let's try something different. Okay, so if I wanted a little bit more attack, this does kind of have a little bit too much sustain to it, in my opinion. And that brings me to the third main tip that I would suggest for you when you're using presets, is to always change something. And that can be a lot of different things. If you're new to synthesis and trying to figure that stuff out, a great place to start is simply on the filter and the amp side of things, the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, and release. How fast a sound comes in, how much it comes down to the sustain point, and then when you let go, this almost has no release. That has a lot more release to it. I also want more attack in this, and one way to do that is by using an envelope on the filter. So in that situation, so I'm going to do the envelope depth for now we got a little bit more attack. So I got it from the filters. Again, I'm just taking one of the presets. I'm changing it a little bit to make it a little bit different. I don't have too much time to work on it here, so we're just going to go with that. Okay, that's pretty good. Go with that clip and shrink it down to about 8 measures, and then the last 8 were my favorite. A little bit busy. We're going to go with that. All right, so now if I'm going to continue to go digging for another plugin, let's have some sort of plan in mind. I think a great place to start with something like that is to think about it harmonically. So we have this kind of like midsection with the pads. We have this bass that's going on, filling up the low end. And so let's put something up higher. I'm going to add a new plugin here. Okay, so let's go to the Tubesynth this time, and I'm going to go into, well, leads. That would definitely be up higher. So let's listen through what we got here. Nope. Oop, I got it. What the hell? Akai, why do you drench everything in delay? I mean, that kind of works. It's sort of corny. It's got way too much glide. So let's first of all tone that the hell down. Okay, so why, again, I don't need delay in here because I already have tons of motion. In fact, I have so much going on that I probably want to go back to that first sound we did. Where is it at here? Maybe I don't even need as much delay in this one because of the fact that I got all this other rhythmical stuff going on now. Yeah, see, the delay is a little too muddy there. So I'm going to actually take, or if I put it in there, let's just take the mix way down, and the feedback way down. I'm just going to put it in just a little bit for color. But I do want it to maybe have a little bit more space in there. So let's come back to this reverb and push it back a little bit. you can always just put a little bit of delay or some reverb in the effects plugins too. I feel like I want a little bit more in there. Maybe a little bit of delay that's just like really short. That can sometimes be a really effective way to create space, because when there's echoes that are happening, there's always small amounts of delay. So maybe the diffusion delay I think might be just what we need for that. Okay, let's turn this off and hear how the difference it makes. It's very subtle. So let's listen to that in the context of the mix. The bass sounds like it's sticking through a little bit more, so let's go to that track edit. And one thing I do like about the Hype is that it does give you some fine-tuning the EQ right away here, which is nice. Okay, let's move on though before we mix too much here. Where was I at here on this sound? Get rid of that goddamn delay. Well, now again, the same thing here is I could just do a tiny bit of this, crank down the feedback and lower speed. There we go. I'm just using the delay now to create some space. It's good enough. I just made this up, so don't judge me, okay? I feel like I could use a little bit more reverb in there. And again, don't get me wrong, effects are amazing and great. The way to sound more professional is to just use little bits of reverb multiple times or other things like that in small amounts and then add them together. Same thing like when you're cooking, if you just dump a ton of one spice in rather than a combination of spices in a greater balance, that's the way to sound like more like a professional. So I'm going to listen to some of these reverbs. Okay, that's way too much, but I can just turn down the mix. Here's all the way off. Just to give a little bit of that in the background is really nice. Let's see. Okay, one of the things that's also not helping in this piece very much is the fact that there's no sidechain going on, and that's something I always put on of my pieces. I love the sound of it. Let's get to that by going to our drum sound here. Where is it? There we go. I should be turning this shift to do record, and then I don't want to do multi, I want to do single here. So that's what's kind of screwing me up. Okay, so pad mixer, and I'm going to go to that pad and put in the mother ducker. The other thing that I'm going to do that's going to help make this a little faster is I'm going to take all the tracks that I want to have the sidechain compression on. I'm going to route it to a submix. I'm just going to choose number 7. And then I'm going to go to the master here, go to my submix here, and then add the mother ducker and kind of adjust to taste here. One thing that I also think would help is to go into this, the drums. I'm going to get rid of the maximizer. I always like doing compressors more than I do the maximizers, at least initially. More attack is the one I like. Okay, so hopefully that's been helpful for you. So here are the 3 things again. They can help you sound more professional, keep you from sounding more amateur. So when you're going through the presets, discard the effects that are there and then rebuild them, unless it's the first sound that you're working with and it's kind of integral to the way that you are making up or composing a song and it kind of inspired you in a certain way. That's okay in those circumstances, but otherwise the effects that are on the presets are probably not going to work. Number 2 is don't go searching around randomly just to see what you find. Have an idea in mind around the kind of like the frequency range that you're going for, something in the mid, a pad, something cutting, other things like that. At least something to guide your searching. And number 3 is to always change something just so that you're making it your own. And that simple way to start would be doing something with the envelopes, like if you're wanting to do the attack and release. It's a very easy way to change something, maybe the filter. If you become more advanced, doing things like LFO and whatnot, if you already know how to design and program synths, then, you know, go at it, like go crazy and changing things a lot more. All right, if you found that to be really helpful, please give this a like. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you want to catch up on more videos. I also have a whole bunch more videos on the Akai 4, so you can click up here to visit that playlist, and a bunch of other music that I have on my channel where I'm using the Force and other devices as well. Thanks.